Hello, everybody. This is Jay in the lab, and welcome to another exciting episode of What the Hell Did We Do with ePO today? Well, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, rogue system detection. Why do I like it? Because I was there at ground zero when they were going to consider putting this into ePO, and this was back in like 1999 time frame. Version 2 of ePO was around, and the CEO of McAfee at that time, or Network Associates, had come to where I was working, and we were talking about various trials and tribulations we were having with the product back then, and the conversation came up about, have you guys ever thought of putting something into the product that would allow us to detect machines that were on the network but that they didn't have a McAfee agent? Now it's the Trellix agent. I probably, just like you, will always refer to it as the MA or the McAfee agent. So you'll have to do the decoder ring to know that when I talk about the agent, it's the Trellix agent. Now, here is our machine. It's Demo1-JA, and this has no McAfee agent on it. We're going to swap on over here to the ePO server and log on in. And right over here where we call this the hamburger stack, it used to be called the menu, there's an item missing from systems called RSD. Now, RSD is what we need to load in here, and all of you are licensed for it, but many of you probably don't know what it is or how it works, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to head on over to the trusty software catalog. It's right here. And I'm going to put a check mark next to it, and I'm going to check it in. Accept the terms and check it in. All right, so it's now been about 5 minutes later, and it is installed. Now, it's been about almost 25 years now since rogue system detection was introduced. And to give you a little bit more around the story of it is, imagine, if you would, that your job is to make sure that you have protection on all of your endpoints, servers, workstations. And you must have a Trellix agent on there or a McAfee agent to make sure that you can communicate fundamentally with the ePO. If you don't have an agent, it's a problem. And that's what RSD begins to address. It's going to listen at layer 2 and try to find any device that has a MAC address on a particular subnet where you're going to deploy a sensor. Now, before you start hollering at me, well, Jay, it's probably really noisy. In some environments, it might be too noisy for you to install. So, for all the clients that I've visited all throughout the United States, here's my recommendation. Go after the low-lying fruit. Go to your servers, your data center, and put it on a server. Put it on there for, a day. Take off the sensor, and now you've at least revealed in a 24-hour period all the machines or all the devices that might be on that subnet. You may actually reveal some servers that don't have a McAfee agent or a Trellix agent. If that's the case, why not put that agent over on that machine? The other thing it's going to help you is show you all the Linux machines, all your wireless access points. Anything that has a MAC address is going to get in here, including voice telephones, switches, you name it. In the lab, I've got well over 100 devices. And now that we have installed, we're going to go up to the menu and over to systems where we have detected systems. This is rogue system detection. Why in the world they didn't call it rogue system detection beats me, but it's called detected systems. Now we're going to click on it, and at the very minimum, we're going to see that we have a managed machine. The managed machine is SQL. SQL has an agent. There are other machines that have agents as well, but we're going to have to discover, and it may take a little time for it to show up as well. I'm going to go back one screen. And it's only going to be a matter of time before it starts to determine that there's a number of other machines that are managed. But to help it along so we can get all the devices, I'm actually going to put the sensor or the package that was checked in, and we're going to put it over in our domain controller. Without further ado, we'll go over here to the system tree, look at all the machines. We're going to actually look at managed machines. And over here, this is our domain controller. Go to Actions, Rogue Sensor, Add or Remove a Sensor. And we're going to install it. Now it's going to be called RSDPP. Now I'm going to run on over here to our domain controller and bring up the task manager, and we're going to be looking for RSDPP. So it's going to be down here somewhere. All right, let's go ahead and install it. Over to the DC we go. Here's the RSD installer, and it's going to turn into the RSDPP executable, which is actually the sensor. And all this is doing on this domain controller, you can put it on a server, you can put it on a workstation, is it just going to listen on the wire and report what traffic it knows of, specifically for devices that don't have a Trellix agent. That's how we know it's going to be a rogue. If it already has an agent on there, it's going to get reported in here as a managed device. All right, just back from a little bit of movie magic here to save you a little bit of time. We're on the ePO console once again. Here are the managed machines that we have. We have 4 of them. And what we're going to do is go back over to the detected systems, and once again, rogue system detection. And you're going to find that we have one good sensor. If we were to click on here, you'll see that you have to drill down just a little bit to find out that it's actually on the DC. And you're also going to notice that we have a lot of devices. Now, in order to get these all in one screen, you can add or remove these columns by going to Actions, choose Columns, and remove those items that you don't need. Now, I'll keep domain. I don't care about the canonical name. Computer name, don't care about DNS. Maybe the device type, maybe the organizational name. But for the purposes of our lab, this is probably good enough. And everything's sitting there nice and tidy right on our screen. Now, you'll notice that the computer name category is all blank. You may find that to be also the case. What we're looking for are machines that we can actually target to put an agent on. By selecting this category, just by clicking, it will reverse sort. And you'll notice that I have a couple here. I have a Windows machine because I chose OS platform along with any other of the columns that you could choose. I have a Windows machine in my environment. Now, it may be in a work group, it might be in the domain, don't know yet. Now, you'll see that it's not in the domain. Gone to clients where I will see that it doesn't look like it's in the domain, but it might be in the domain. All I do is deploy an agent to it. Let's see if we can do that. Going to choose this machine, deploy an agent. I'm going to force the installation. And this is from a previous setting that I kept, but the SE domain is the one that I have. There's the login, and then I'm going to put in my credentials. Interestingly enough, one of the most common questions I get is, hey, this is kind of cool that it keeps my credentials, but is this for everybody? No, it's just for your login session. Now, you don't have to come back, and you don't have to put all your credentials in here. And any other user that has access to ePO, they'll have their own credentials in here, potentially, if that's what they'd like to do. All right, we're going to snap on over here to our Windows 10 machine. Come on down here, you'll see that there's no agent that's running. Select Task Manager. Head on over here to Details or Services. And what we're going to see here is we're going to look for the frame installer once we go to send this. Back over to ePO. Here's all our credentials. All we have to do is select OK. Back on over to the Windows 10 machine. We should see the frame installer. There it is. So the frame package is the executable that will basically unfold this frame installer. And that's going to do all the dirty work for getting the Trellix agent here on the machine. Now what's really interesting is the frame installer has been that name for 20 plus years. They have never changed it. In fact, when you go in here, look at its properties, details, the only thing they've ever changed is the name of the agent. Also, the copyright isn't McAfee anymore. It's this company. Other than that, everything is exactly the same. It goes in, it installs, you're done, you have McTray. It's interesting, you can't quite get rid of all the McAfee under the hood. MC, McAfee agent. So that's why whenever you hear me say McAfee agent or Trellix agent, yeah, if you keep looking really hard under the hood, you'll find a lot of McAfees still there. Now down here in the lower right hand corner when you hover, it says Trellix status OK. We're going to look at the status monitor, and it looks like everything is operating just fine. Here's the agent deployment. We'll come in here and see that it's actually completed. Perfect. Back on over. This is like a ping pong ball. We're bouncing all over the place. Back over to detected systems. And now you'll see we have 5 managed machines. And in there is our Demo 1 JA system. That's the one we just deployed. I have 59 rogues, meaning they don't have any agent. Maybe they're not going to get an agent either. So you begin to look through here. Now this is great for your networking folks. If you find something or a device, not only could you provide a particular MAC address, but you can also get a rough idea what the device is. Don't always assume that just because it says printer that it really is a printer. And I can systematically go through all these devices. For example, all these Linux systems, I'm not going to put an agent on them. And I'm going to choose all of them. Now I want to show you this interesting artifact, especially with Firefox. If you do this, everything gets highlighted. Now I've switched over to Edge, and I'm going to sort the platform again. And when I come down to wanting to highlight this, it's a nice clean marking of all these devices. So keep in mind what browser you're using as to what you might see on your screen that might be annoying. And I'm going to go to Detected Systems, Add Exceptions, select the category, and I have Linux, Apple, Smart Home in there. I'm going to choose Linux and hit OK. It has successfully marked these 25 devices, and I'll click Close. If you just chisel at it over a period of time, it's actually not too bad. But if you just come here and you've been using ePO for 5 years or more, you're going to have a lot of stuff in here if you decide to install RSD right now. It's not even fathomable to imagine how many devices you have in your network. Here's the goodness. You're looking for devices that are not being covered. How many machines does it take to wreck your network? 1. Try to improve your security posture today. Go after those rogue machines. Get your exceptions down to something a little bit more manageable. There's one last thing to show you to be mindful of. Go to Menu, go to Server Settings, and down here we have Rogue System Sensor. Yes, when you click on Edit here, you can actually edit these to say sensors per subnet. How many do I want to have? The max amount of time the server is going to wait for the sensor to call before it makes it a missing device. That's it. You can change many of these items, and then all you have to do is click Save. That's it from the lab today. I'm Jay. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again in the lab very soon. So long.